Alright, welcome to this lesson here. We're going to be learning the key of G. We're going to give you all the tools you need to become familiar with how to play songs in this key signature right here. You're going to see this when you're playing in this key, the key of G. This means it has one sharp, and we'll get into that. Let's first look at the scale. This is the G scale. If you're learning your notes, well, this is a note you may not be very familiar with, but if we start with one we do know, which is middle C right here, that note is this on the piano, and we just go down. This one would be the B below middle C. This is A, and this one here is G. It's a G below middle C, and that's how it's notated in the treble clef. Just remember, the treble clef is generally referring to notes you're playing in your right hand, and it's for notes that are higher. The bass clef, generally you'll be playing with your left hand, but it's for notes that are lower. Alright, so we're going to start right here on this note with our to start the G scale. So if you remember, we want to learn our scales in all 12 keys. So hopefully you started with C, and so you know your C scale. If you don't, you can learn that in the lesson on the key of C. But now we're on the next easiest key, I would say. The key of G has one sharp, and what's great about the key of G, the scale in the key of G, is that it uses the same finger pattern. So with the C scale, if you remember the right hand, we went to the third finger and crossed under to the F, then finished to the pinky, and on the way down we crossed over with the third. Same thing in the left hand. We went up to the thumb, crossed over with the third, finished with the thumb, then went back down, crossed under to the G, just like this. C scale. The G scale is the same pattern, but we're just starting on the G, and we're going to play the F sharp when we get there. Okay, that's all the way up here. When we get here, instead of playing this F, we're going to play it sharp. Now, when we say a note is sharp, it means we just move it up to the very next note to the right. Alright, that'd be sharp. So if I've got an F sharp, I move it to the next note to the right, or up. Flat is opposite. It's the very next note to the left. Alright? So an F flat is actually an E. But then we get into like an E. This is an E flat. But it's also a D sharp. Now when we get to the F, we're going to play it sharp. Watch closely. This is your right hand. Start on that G, which is that note that I've got. 2 on the A, 3 on the B, cross under your third finger with your thumb to the C, then 2 finger on the D, 3 finger on the E, 4 finger on the F sharp, and then finish with your pinky on the G. Then back down, 4 finger on the F sharp, 3 on the E, 2 on the D, 1 on the C, 3 over the thumb to the B, 2 on the A, 1 on the G. Again, remember, our fingers are numbered. We refer to them as numbers. This is the 1 finger, 2 finger, 3 finger, 4 finger, 5 finger. Let's take a look at the left hand now. We'll start the left hand on this note. Alright? That's the G. G, A, B, C, D, cross over with that third finger to the E, 2 finger on the F sharp, and back down. Under here, under the third finger. Just like we did with the C scale, you want to learn that and get real comfortable playing it. Left hand or right hand by itself, left hand by itself, and then combine them. Now, if you've already mastered the C scale and you're able to play the hands together, the G scale is going to come a lot easier because you've already got that pattern down. Just all you have to do is play the same thing starting on the G and remember that F sharp. G scale. Now it's so important you know your scales for each key, and we're going to go through all 12 major keys, then we'll get into the minors as well. And it's going to help you be familiar with the notes you're going to be using in a certain key. Now in the key of G or C it seems pretty simple, but when you get into say A flat, I'm playing an A flat, how am I going to keep track of all the flats? There's 4 of them there. Well, if I know my scale, it's second nature. I know when I'm playing a song in A flat, because I know my scale, I'm very familiar and very comfortable moving around the key of A flat, and I don't often find myself playing, oh, that's supposed to be flat. No, that's not going to happen because I know my scale. So it's very important you know the scales. Practice that, put both hands together, get very comfortable playing it, and bring it up to speed. Here are the scales in the key of G. These are the diatonic scales. Now remember that word diatonic from the lesson on key of C. It just means what chords can we form using 3 notes and using the notes we just played in the G scale. And the answer to that are these chords. The answer to that is right here. We have what we call the 1 chord, the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 chords. Now the ones you want to be most concerned with, or at least most familiar with, are the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. Well, let's go over them all just so you know them. Alright, so the 1 chord is the G chord. And what I have notated here, this here are these notes. Bottom note is G, B, and D. What I have notated up here are these notes. So the G chord of the 1 chord is made up of a G, B, and a D. Now the 2 chord is right here. Why is it called a 2? Because it's built from the second degree of the scale, the second note in the scale. Remember our scale? The second note is how we construct the 2 chord, and that's why it's called the 2 chord, and it's minor. The 2 chord is always minor. It's made up of an A, a C, and an E. And you hear that minor sound. Much different from a major sound. That's a major chord. Our 2 is minor. Our 3 chord is also minor. Okay, so it's a triad built from the 3rd degree of the scale, which is B. So when I say the 3 chord, you know you think of what key are we in? What's the 3rd note of the scale? That's our 3 chord. And we're building it from the B. It's made of B, D, F sharp, another minor. Remember, the 1, 4, and 5 are major. The 2, 3, and 6 are minor. And that's in any given key. Now let's go on to the next one. The next one is the 4. It's a C chord. And we're right here. And it's made up of a C, and I have what's written here is this. A C, E, and a G. Next one is the D chord, made up of a D, F sharp, and A. The next one is the 6th chord, which is E minor. It's made up of an E, a G, and a B. And I have it notated down here. And then the last one is a weird chord. It's the minor 7 with a flat 5, or this is called many times diminished. F sharp diminished. Diminished means make smaller or bring down. So when we have a diminished chord, we bring the 5 note of the chord down. So not to confuse you too much, but the minor 7 flat 5 looks like this. F sharp A and C in the key of G. That's what your 7 chord looks like. Alright, it's got a weird, much different sound than all the other ones. Doesn't sound minor, doesn't sound major. There it is. That's your 7 chord. Alright, so you should be familiar with those. You should understand, you should know those chords. But, again, what you want to be very familiar with is the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5. I'm sorry, I'm thinking in the key of C. Let's go back to the key of G. The 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. 1 is G, G, B, D. 4 is C, C, E, G. And 5 is D, D, F sharp, A. Alright, Alright, let's take a look right here at some common chord progressions or ways we might play these chords. Alright, so remember from our previous lessons that we can take chords and invert them. Alright, so I've shown you the chords in the root position, but you can change the order of these notes to play it in a different way. Let's make the first inversion by taking the first note of the chord and moving it and playing it above the other two, like this. That's the same chord but played differently. It's called the first inversion. Let's do it again and we'll get the second inversion. Let's take this note and play it above these two. Now we have the second inversion. Let me just play one hand just so you can see it more clearly. First inversion, root, first inversion, second inversion. Those are our three inversions when we're dealing with a three-note chord. Right hand would be, those are all G chords, but inverted, played differently. We can do the same thing with the C chord. First inversion, second inversion, root. And the D chord. First inversion, second inversion, root. Now take a look here where it says D7. Something to remember is the 5 chord, okay? Remember what our 5 chord is in the key of G. It's a triad built off the 5th degree of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's build a triad here. If you remember from this chart, it is the D major chord. Now this 5 chord always has a 7 that is natural in the key. When I say 7, I mean a dominant 7. It's a major chord with what some people call the minor 7. Not a major 7, but a minor 7. Alright, it gives us this dissonant sound right here. Right, it's called a dominant chord. And that only happens in diatonically speaking, or using only the notes from the key of G. It only happens on the 5 chord. There's the 4 chord, it doesn't have its dominant 7, which is this. That's not in the key of G. If you remember your scale, the B is natural. The G chord, right? It doesn't have its dominant 7 either in its key. That only happens on the 5 chord. Right there. There it is. And that D7 usually brings us back to the 1 chord. You can hear the resolve. Right? So, when you see a 5 chord, very often it's going to have the 7 with it. What do I mean by the 7? Now, this might get a little confusing because I've been referring to numbers based upon the degrees of the scale. But now we're going to refer to the 7 as relating to the chord. Alright, so when I say a D7, you might think, oh, does that mean the 7th degree of the G scale since we're in the key of G? No, it's the 7th of the chord. So count up 7 notes from the root of the chord that we're on. And that gives us your 7. Alright? Hopefully that doesn't confuse you too much, but this is your D7 chord. It's extended to the 7th note. Now, a way you're going to see this written very often is like this. And this is right here. Just like that. So practice that with your left hand. Practice playing that and get comfortable because you're going to see that a lot. Now, you're also going to see this inversion of the C. We already talked about the first inversion of the C chord, but get comfortable with that. And also this inversion of the C chord. Get comfortable with that one. And this inversion of the G chord. Why do we use these inversions? Well, you'll notice they're all real close to each other. We don't have to move much to get back and forth. So you want to practice going back and forth from these chords. Now you can also throw in the roots as well. That way you're comfortable moving because you're going to need to do that in your left hand as you play a song in the key of G, which is what we're going to jump into next. So we've learned the scale. Very important you know that. Then you need to be familiar with all the chords, and you need to be a master at the 1, 4, and 5 chords. Now let's jump into the song we're going to learn, Amazing Grace. Let's go ahead and learn this song. This is a song in the key of G. And this will help you as you learn and become more comfortable in the key of G. Alright, so the melody, hopefully you remember, you're learning the notes. If you don't know notes, go back to our first lesson for our first lesson basics, and we'll learn the notes. We'll give you the tools you need to be able to read all these notes in here. But if you don't read notes, and I'll still go ahead and demonstrate the melody to you, and you can go ahead and learn it without knowing notes. This is how the melody goes. Starting on this measure right here, that's a D. It goes like this, and this is 3/4 time, meaning we're going to count to 3 in each measure. A measure is from this line to this line. So this is the first measure, this is the second, third, and in every measure we're going to count to 3. These notes, if you remember from our previous lesson, this is a quarter note, it gets 1 beat. This is a half note, it gets 2 beats. These are eighth notes, they get a half a beat, so 2 eighth notes per beat. So you can see they add up to 3 in every measure. This gets 2, these two together get 1, so that's 3. So we're in 3/4 time. Alright, now watch carefully as I play the melody starting here, and I'll count it. 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Alright, we're on the second line. Let me pick it up right here. It comes in on 3. Ready? 3, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And that last measure is right. Now it's on the next page, so we'll get to that in just a second. Great thing about these videos, you can go ahead and rewind, and if you didn't get that melody the first time, rewind it. This lesson sheet, this will also be available for you to download and to be able to reference. So one more time on the melody, I'll go slow, starting at the beginning, right here. This is how it goes. 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Alright, let me plug in my computer. Alright, here we go. Notice down here, something you may not have seen or might not be familiar with. This is a dotted quarter note with an eighth note. Alright, so a dotted quarter note gets 1.5 beats. Anytime you see a dot like this next to a note, it adds half of this note's value to that note. So this would be 1.5. If we have down here, you see dotted half notes, it adds half of its value to that note. So a dotted half note gets 3 beats. A dotted quarter note gets 1.5. A dotted eighth note would get 3/4 of a beat. So that's just something to remember. But here, the way this is counted here, it's 1, 2, and 3, and 1. Okay, so we hold this note as we say 2. And then after we say 2, we play the next note on the and of the 2. 1, 2, and 3, and 1. When you first play this, you're going to want to play the next note on the 2. 1, 2, and 3, and... But that's going to get the timing messed up. So hold it through the 2. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2. Just like that. And the same thing's happening right here. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2. Alright, let's go ahead and add the left hand. Now, I've written the chords up here. So if you're familiar with the chords, you don't even have to read what I've written. You don't have to read these notes. And you can, that'll help you. But if you know your chords, you can just reference these letters. And as you play for the first measure, you see it's a G chord. Go ahead and play your G chord and use that second inversion that I showed you, because it's going to be real convenient to get around to your other chords. The left hand, alright? The first measure is a G chord. second measure, another G chord. Third full measure here, we're using a C chord. Use that root position, or you can even go here. It's close to what you were playing. They're both pretty close, so you pick. Then we've got a G chord again, then another G chord, G chord again, and then we're going to use that D7 that I showed you. We're going to jump up here and play it like that. We're going to hold that for 2 measures, and then while we play the melody, we're going to come back down on this measure here with the G chord, this measure, G chord again, and we're going to use this inversion for the C chord here, G chord, then G chord here, then here we're going to play 2 chords in 1 measure. We're going to play this chord for 2 beats, this is a D without the 7, then we're going to use that D7 that I showed you on this note, and then we're going to finish on like this. Take a look at what my left hand is doing. This is a great way to finish a song. It's an octave down there. It just sounds very fine. Use the D there also. You can finish the song just like that. Right, that's not on this page. I'll get to that in just a minute. But let's go ahead and play through this song. Play along with me as best you can. Here we go. Ready? 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and that's that. Alright, that was pretty slow. If it was too fast for you, go ahead and slow it down. If you're not able to see what I'm doing, go ahead and rewind it and watch it a couple times, that way you can get it. Let's go ahead and play it up to speed now. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. There you go. Practice playing and see if you can get it up to speed. And one thing you must do when you practice is to count. And it's very easy to play a song and start messing up the timing, and you're thinking you're doing it right all the time, but if you're not counting, then there's no way you can know. So count it out as I just did. Now let's jump into that second page here. This is how, let's see if I can find it. This is how the song ends, so this is how it's notated, the ending of that song of Amazing Grace. That's what I'm playing, and this is how it's notated. Now, there's a second version of Amazing Grace. If you're a little more advanced here, let's take a look at some different chords. Then we're going to use some of the minor chords we learned. Alright, so follow along with me as I play, starting right here. We're going to use an E minor here. If this is over your head, that's fine. You don't have to worry about this, but if you're wanting something a little more interesting when you play this song, go ahead and play it this way. We're going to use an A7. This is a note that's not in the G scale. You've got a C sharp. But we're going to use it before the D, and you'll notice it sounds really neat. Follow along as I play. Scroll. I'm right here. Alright, really pretty, a little more interesting than the chords we were playing. And playing the other way is important if you're this is all new to you. If you're kind of familiar with the scale and you know notes, notes a little bit, and you're a little more familiar with those chords, then use some of these chords and practice playing it with these chords. Let me give you some more options for the left hand. If you're also a little more advanced, you can do some patterns, right? You can break the chord up. That's really pretty. Let's try it. Ready? Alright, so you can give that a try. There's also another trick. If you are familiar with the chords, if you kind of understand these chords and how they work together and your inversions and the notes that are in those chords, you can fill out your right hand. This is the last thing I'm going to show you before we wrap it up, but you can fill out your right hand a little bit. You don't have to just play one note in the right hand. You can harmonize this note with another note in the right hand. Just pick any other note that's in the G chord. If you're familiar with your G chord, you know I'm playing a G, but the other two notes that are in the G chord are the B and the D. So you can grab one of those or both of them and play and fill out the right hand. Let me show you how this sounds. As you keep going, when I get over here to the E minor, I'm playing a B, but the other two notes in the E minor chord are E and G. I can fill it out by playing those notes or both of them in my hand, and then it just fills it out. So listen as I do that. Change the ending, but you get the idea. You can fill out that right hand. Another thing you can do, move your hand up, and you can play 3 notes on every beat, on every chord, like this. Oh, change here. So you see there's some options there. But to be able to fill out that right hand, if you know your chords, any note that's in the chord, you can add it and fill out that right hand. And down the road as you get more comfortable, then we start filling out even more, and we play like this. But practicing this song in the key of G, experiment with the different left hands, count out the beats. That is so important. If you're going to start changing what you're doing in the left hand, but you're not keeping strict timing, it's easy for the rhythm to fall apart. So if you're going to break up the left hand, you need to be counting it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That out. Alright, so count it out, but experiment, play it differently. Try to fill out your left hand if that's something you're up for. If not, don't worry, play it the simple way, and that is what is going to get you to the point of being able to add in these other things. You become a master at the key of G. Become a master at the chords and getting around, and then you're going to find yourself being able to do more. And you'll be able to jump over to the next one and add in those other interesting harmonies, those different chords. So one other thing I'll say about the scale before we're done, we practice playing one octave. If you are a little more advanced, go ahead and practice playing it 2 octaves, like this. Cross under here. And we're going to finish, usually we end up on our pinky and thumb, but we're going to go up another octave. So let's go to our thumb and cross under our 4th here. Now let's cross over with our 4th here so we can reset. Now we're good to go. Here's your cross under your 3rd, and over with your 3rd, and we finished 2 octaves. Then back down. Here's under your 3rd to the D, over with your 3rd to the B. Here, we're going to go under that 4th, and we're going to go over with the 4th here. Then here's our cross under our 3rd, over the 3rd, and there's 2 octave scale. Watch again. Under the 3rd here, over with the 3rd there, and we're going to go, rather than our pinky, we're going to go under with the thumb again, under the 4th finger, then over with the 4th finger to reset, under the 3rd here with the thumb, over with the 3rd to the E, F sharp, G, back, under the thumb, 3rd, over with the 3rd, then here's where we cross under that 4th to get back down with the thumb, then over with the 4th to the F sharp, then 3 on the E, 2 just like that, and we're home. So if you want to practice 2 octaves, that'll really help you. Even help you separate your hands by 2 octaves. Alright, and so anyway, practice your scale, practice and get comfortable and very good at playing in the key of G.